All right, the Kings take on the Mavericks, 5 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Saturday, March 5th, 2022. Dallas is -7 with a total at 224.5. We're 2-0 in our last two board member tier package bets on BrockPage.com. And the link for today's board member tier package bet is in the description section below. We're also hitting at 71% in our last 14 personal bets in that very same package. Now, we currently have over 835 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. And if you want to check out my current personal record for free, you can do that right now by going to the homepage on BrockPage.com. Now, for those who are interested in signing up for my board member tier, just keep in mind that not only are you going to get access to today's board member tier package bet, you also get full access to every single package that I offer on that website all the way through the end of March. It's actually an all-inclusive package. But if you're not signed up for that membership, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll explain a little bit more about it in just a moment. But before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick time out and welcome you to the video. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal bets on BrockPage.com. And I have packages on that website starting at just $1.99. Now, the purpose of these YouTube videos is to provide you with free informational sports betting content. And it's also designed to generate interest in signing up for a membership on my webpage. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. And even though Dallas has been absolute covering machines here lately, these guys are really banged up here today. Kleber's out, Luka's questionable. And as a matter of fact, Burke, Brown, Ntilikina, and Luka, they're all listed as questionable to play here today. Meanwhile, Hardaway, Chris, Pinson, and Kleber, they are listed as out. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two organizations, the Mavs have actually had a tough time covering the number recently against Sacramento. They failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 games against the Kings. And as far as this year's concerned, the Mavs really aren't scoring a whole lot of points. Dallas scores only 106 points a game at the American Airlines Center. They're also in the bottom 5 in home offensive boards. They're taking on a Sacramento team who covered in 3 out of their last 4 themselves. And they averaged 113 points a game in those contests. And even though the Kings have had a tough time getting in the win column here this year, they do score the majority of their points in the second quarter. Matter of fact, these guys are in the top 5 in the NBA in second quarter scoring. De'Aaron Fox is dropping over 22 points a game, along with 3 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis, he's averaging over 13 rebounds a game with his new team. And he's also scoring 17 points a night. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, Holmes is questionable, Davis is out. And when it comes to the total in this one, 8 out of Sacramento's last 10 meetings with Dallas fell under the line. Meanwhile, the Mavericks went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. Now, the Mavs are also 24-8 to the under as the official home team. I'm going to lean towards Sacramento +7 in the under 224.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Spurs versus the Hornets, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. Charlotte's -3.5, totals 237. Now, Charlotte covered in 5 out of their last 8 ball games, and they're still scoring a whole bunch of points per game. As a matter of fact, the Hornets lead the entire NBA in offensive points per contest. And they're also in the top 10 in shooting the 3 ball. Of course, a lot of those points are thanks to Miles Bridges, who's scoring just about 20 points a game, along with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Now, you can also thank LaMelo Ball. He's averaging over 19.5 points per contest himself, along with 6 rebounds and 7 assists. And speaking of rebounds, the Hornets are doing a terrific job of grabbing offensive boards at home. They're currently in the top 3 in the NBA in home offensive rebounding per contest. Now they're taking on a San Antonio team who could be in big trouble here today, while on the defensive end of the court. They're already amongst the worst in the league in road defensive rebounding. And of course, on top of that, the Spurs find themselves in the bottom 5 in the association in points allowed per game. Now, injury-wise, Walker, Langford, and Vassell are questionable for the Spurs. Meanwhile, on the other side of things for Charlotte, Hayward, McDaniels, and Bouknight are out for them. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, Charlotte saw overs recently with the likes of Detroit, Minnesota, and Memphis. Meanwhile, the Spurs, on the other side of things, they went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Charlotte, minus 3.5, and the over 237. Next contest, it is going to be Blazers versus the Timberwolves, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's minus 14 with a total at 233.5. Now, the T-Wolves are on a 3-game winning streak. They also covered the number in 6 out of their last 8. And when coming to the Target Center, well, the T-Wolves have certainly made their opponents very uncomfortable. They're actually in the top 3 in home defensive field goal percentage. And in addition to that, they've done an exceptional job guarding the 3-ball in their own arena. Now, when it comes to offensive production in this one, well, it's Karl-Anthony Towns. He's averaging over 24 points a game, along with 9 rebounds and 3 assists. Now, Karl's also making nearly 41% of his three-pointers. He's been really good shooting that long ball this season. Meanwhile, D'Angelo Russell, he's scoring nearly 20 a game himself, along with 3 boards and 6 assists. And speaking of offensive production, believe it or not, Minnesota's in the top 3 in the association in scoring on average per contest. Now, they're taking on a Blazers team who's literally got, like, no one of importance playing here tonight. Bledsoe, Nurkic, Winslow, Hart, and Silva, they're all listed as out for tonight's contest. Now, the Blazers have also lost their last 3 straight, and they've yet to reach double-digit road victories yet this year. They've got 9 victories on the road this season, so still in the single digits with regard to road wins. Now, injury-wise, once again, Portland's got almost everyone on the sidelines. Meanwhile, for Minnesota on the other side of things, Wright is out. Edwards is questionable. When it comes to the total, 6 out of Minnesota's last 10 meetings with Portland fell under the number. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. They also saw unders recently against the likes of Memphis and Toronto. Meanwhile, Portland, on the other side, they went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota, minus 14, and the under 233.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Magic versus the Grizzlies, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Memphis is minus 16, totals 229.5. And even though Orlando's just terrible, Memphis did lose 3 out of their last 5 ball games. And that includes a loss to Portland, where they gave up 123 points. And speaking of giving up points, Memphis is allowing 115 points a game in their last 7 outings. They also find themselves in the bottom 10 in fourth quarter points allowed. Now, they're taking on an Orlando team who got the W in 3 out of their last 4, with victories over the likes of Toronto, Houston, and Indiana. Now, Orlando's also gone 7-3 straight up in their last 10 meetings with Memphis. And they held the Grizzlies to just 106 points a game in those contests. Now, offensively, Cole Anthony is scoring over 17 points a game, along with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner is averaging over 15.5 points per contest himself, along with 4 boards and 3 assists as well. And speaking of offensive production, the Magic really do tend to do most of their damage in the second half scoring-wise. They're actually in the top 10 in both third quarter and fourth quarter scoring away from their home court. Now, injury-wise, Carter's out. Suggs is questionable. Meanwhile, for Memphis, Anderson's questionable for them. Ponce and Brooks are also out. When it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of Memphis's last 4 fell under the posted total. Meanwhile, Orlando went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Orlando plus 16, keeping this one close, and the under 229.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Sixers versus the Heat, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami is -1, totals 219.5. And even though Philadelphia is in the second of a back-to-back here today, it's Miami's roster who could potentially be depleted. Tucker, Strus, Martin, and Butler, they're all questionable to play here today. Meanwhile, Lowry and Morris, they are still out for Miami. And even though there's really not too many holes in Miami's armor, per se, they do have a tough time guarding the 3-ball at home. The Heat currently finds themselves in the bottom 10 in the association in defensive three-point percentage. Meanwhile, offensively, on the other end of the court, Miami does have the tendency to shut it down late in games. They're currently in the bottom 10 in fourth quarter scoring. Now they're taking on a Philadelphia team who allows just 106 points a game on the road this year. And in addition to that, they're also ranking in the top 3 in the association in defending the field goal. Now, scoring-wise, Joel Embiid, he's averaging nearly 30 points a game along with 11 rebounds. Meanwhile, James Harden, he's scoring over 26.5 points per contest with his new team. He's also averaging a dozen assists per game. And equally as impressive, Harden's making 50% of his shots from three-land, while with Philly as well. And speaking of three-pointers, the Sixers are already in the top 5 in the league in three-point shooting away from home. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Philly's last 6 straight all got over the posted number. They also went 80% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Miami's 16-12 to the over at the FTX Arena. They also went 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with the Sixers. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Philadelphia +1 and the over 219.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Warriors versus the Lakers, 8:30 p.m. East. Golden State's -6, totals 227.5. But as bad as the Lakers have been, Golden State really hasn't been that much better. The Warriors are on a 3-game losing streak, and they also dropped 7 out of their last 10 as well. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, the Warriors are one of the worst covering teams in the NBA over the past month or so. These guys actually failed to cover in 10 out of their last 11 ball games. And just for reference, Golden State's covered the number just once since February 1st. And even though the Warriors have been strong on defense this season, can't take that away from them. Just keep in mind, they do tend to give up a bunch of points early in games. They're currently in the bottom 10 in first quarter points allowed on the road. So really not a whole lot to nitpick when it comes to Golden State. But more recently, they've not been playing well. And they do tend to give up a lot of points early in games when they travel. Now, they're taking on a Laker team who's in the top 10 in fewest first quarter points allowed at home, despite their recent struggles. And as bad as these guys have been, they actually still do have a winning record as the official home team. LeBron James is scoring over 28.5 points per contest, along with 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Russell Westbrook, he's scoring 18 points per contest himself, along with 7 boards and 7 assists as well. Now, injury-wise, Horton Tucker is questionable. Nunn and Davis are still out. Meanwhile, for Golden State on the other side, Iguodala, Payton, and Green are out for them. Lee is also listed as questionable. He'll most likely be a game-time decision. Now, total-wise, 6 out of these teams' last 10 meetings with each other fell under the line. The Lakers also saw 5 out of their last 7 fall under the posted total. Meanwhile, Golden State on the other side, they saw unders recently with the likes of Dallas, Utah, and OKC. They're also averaging just 104 points a game in their last 10 contests against LA. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Lakers +6 and the under 227.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.